What's going on, everyone? GoodMicWork commentaries back at you finally with episode 524. I had a feeling this episode was going to come later in the week. I did not expect it to come this late. This is probably going to hit YouTube on Sunday, December 23rd. So we are just a couple of days from the Christmas holiday here and a couple of taped Raw and SmackDown shows. So I thought a really good way to kind of structure this commentary, since it was coming so late and it was coming on the weekend, was not only discuss what we saw take place last week with TLC and Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live, but this is a little bit of a warning for you. I'm going to get into a few Raw and SmackDown spoilers as well. So if you don't want to be spoiled in this episode with what you're going to see on Christmas Eve and Christmas night on Raw and SmackDown, then maybe come back to this video after Raw and SmackDown air. Otherwise, I am going to be mentioning just a few. I'm not going to mention all of the results of those shows, but I am going to touch on a few spoilers that take place as we're discussing this previous week's Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live. And each and every time I'm about to tell you a spoiler, I'm going to give you a warning. So it's even possible to still listen to this and potentially not be spoiled. But I would imagine, since Monday Night Raw is literally tomorrow, and many of the fans recently have not been interested in Monday Night Raw at all, we have been shitting all over the show for weeks. I really don't think it's going to kill anybody to hear some of these spoilers, but I will give you a warning before I say one, just to give you a chance to either pause or skip ahead in the video. So just keep that in mind for this episode. Hopefully we do not have any angry fans in the comments below getting mad about spoilers or anything like that, but I figured it would be easier for everybody if I just included the spoilers in this episode. So that is my very long, drawn-out, early apology for any spoilers, because I know some fans get extremely butthurt about shit like this. So I'm just hoping not to piss anybody off. But anyway, before we get started, I want to first of all wish all of you out there a very happy and safe and fun holiday season. We are 2 days away from Christmas, and tomorrow is Christmas Eve. So if you're celebrating Christmas, I hope you have a wonderful holiday and wonderful time with your family. If you're celebrating Hanukkah or anything else, chances are you are all with your families and spending time with them. And to me, personally, that's what the holidays are all about. So I hope every one of you out there is having a wonderful time, just, reflecting on the year, spending time with family, enjoying, hopefully not being at work, and hopefully taking home some good loot as well and drinking some fine alcohol, because I know that's what I'll be doing. A little programming note for you as well. I do have a year-end video coming up. I'm going to be a little bit lazy with it because the holiday season at work for me personally is absolutely nuts. I don't know how I ever found time to do those big year-end projects that I used to do, but that just does not seem to be in the cards anymore. So what I'm going to do is similar to what I did last year. I'm going to do just a really fun, live, casual Q&A wrestling hangout. That's going to be this coming Sunday, 1 week from today, December 30th, and the start time on that will probably be the same time that Raw or SmackDown would be on the air, probably 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific for me here on the West Coast. And you guys can just Google whatever time that is if you live somewhere else in the world. But that is going to be the time, December 30th at 8 o'clock Eastern time. I will be live on YouTube. Big Q&A. Now, for those of you that can't join live and aren't going to be able to be here, you can email me your questions, because that's how I usually handle Q&As. Everybody emails me their questions. So if you can't be here for the stream, just send them to me. I'm going to take a handful of emails and I'm just going to dump them into a Word document, and I'm going to go through and read some of them during the live episode. So that'll actually be an episode. It'll be 525, and I'm just going to do it live just for the hell of it, ring in the new year. I might even buy myself a bottle of champagne and sit here and drink it with you guys, because the next night is New Year's Eve, and that's also a Monday. I will not be live streaming Raw because I will be at work. Work is absolutely nuts for me on New Year's Eve. So that is my plan for the end of the year. That is the next time you are going to see me. Also on December 30th, prior to my live stream and my live year-end Q&A, earlier on that day, I'm going to be releasing a brand new Patreon video as well, and it is a fucking goofy-ass one, and I think a lot of you are going to get a very bizarre, kind of weird kick out of it, but it's interesting. So the 30th will actually be a 2-video day. Brand new Patreon video in the morning, and then my live stream in the evening. So that should do it for all the holiday well wishes, the spoiler apologies, and the scheduling notes. We can now move into the topics we're going to discuss today, and it's really just the past week of TV on WWE. There's not a whole lot of other wrestling news going on right now that I'm really going to touch on. I was kind of reading through some of it today, and nothing really noteworthy or nothing that I feel needs to even be discussed. So this is going to be a primarily just WWE type of commentary. And like I said, we're going to discuss this past week's Raw and SmackDown, and I will touch on a few spoilers for this upcoming week that we're going to see on TV. But just to briefly recap a little bit of TLC that took place last Sunday. I was up here live streaming my reaction to that. I've got a Cliff's Notes highlights version of my reaction on YouTube right now. The link is right in the top right-hand corner of the screen there if you want to check that out later. But the pay-per-view itself, I thought, got high marks, primarily because of the main event, the fact that the women main evented, and the fact that Asuka won the title. I think that really saved the pay-per-view from not being that great. It was really a 4-match card. The only matches on this show that mattered were Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, the WWE title match between Bryan and AJ, and the 2 women's title matches, Ronda Rousey and Nia Jax, and Becky Lynch, Charlotte, and Asuka. So it was a 4-match card. Only 3 of them were good. Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose kind of had a stinker, and Ronda Rousey and Nia Jax was very good, and Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles was very good, and Asuka and Becky and Charlotte, of course, was wonderful, with Ronda Rousey interfering and setting up a whole bunch of different possibilities for the future going into the Royal Rumble and going into WrestleMania. How crazy is it that the women, I mean, with the exception of Daniel Bryan, the women in WWE are far more interesting than the men right now. Daniel Bryan, like I said, is doing great work, and I'm loving him. But aside from his character, the women, to me, are far more compelling because there's so many different what-ifs and what matches are we going to get at what times, and even WWE doesn't know. If you notice on TV, they announced, or there was a graphic up, they might have announced it on social media, don't know where the fuck they announced it, but it was revealed that Asuka is going to take on Becky Lynch for the title at the Royal Rumble, and then Paige had tweeted out that she had tried to make that match right before being relieved of her SmackDown duties, and it is no longer official. So maybe WWE thought they were going to go in that direction, and they changed their mind, and they used Paige's status in the company to kind of get around that. I'm not sure what the deal was there, so nothing is really set yet for the Royal Rumble, and we're not quite sure the direction they're going to go, with that show and into WrestleMania, because if you have Becky Lynch challenging Asuka for the title, that means she's probably not going to be in the Royal Rumble, and we might want her to win the Royal Rumble. So I'm hoping that winds up being the case, and Becky Lynch is in the Royal Rumble. The only thing I will warn the fans about, because I've wanted this from the beginning, I'm like, oh shit, if Becky Lynch goes to the Royal Rumble and wins it, she can then jump to Raw, challenge Ronda Rousey. It's right there, served up to you on a silver platter, and you can have Ronda and Becky at WrestleMania. That would be fucking fabulous. But one thing I'm worried about is we've seen this before. We've seen super over baby faces before enter the Royal Rumble, and we are always, always, always disappointed. We cannot forget about Daniel Bryan and how in 2014 and even 2015 and some of the crazy shit WWE was doing in the Royal Rumble, having guys like Roman Reigns win and Daniel Bryan being tossed out when he was clearly the favorite, the most beloved guy. It was just a mess. I mean, it really, really angered the fans. So my one concern with Becky Lynch being in the Women's Royal Rumble is that WWE will fuck it up somehow. They'll have Nia Jax eliminate her or some shit, and the fans will lose their mind. So if WWE puts Becky in the Rumble, they better goddamn have her win it. And I just hope before they jump the gun, before they rush to announce any matches, which is what looked like happened this week with the Royal Rumble, before they just jump into that, they have plenty of time. The Royal Rumble is not until January 27th. Think it through, dudes. I'm begging you, WWE, please. Don't just start making shit up because Vince has a fucking thought in his head at 11 o'clock in the morning. Just fuck that. Try to just take your time with it, analyze it, get a whole bunch of different people's opinions, and try to figure out what the best idea and scenario is here. Do not waste this. You got just a golden opportunity here for all these great matches. You've got Ronda and Charlotte to happen at some point. You've got Ronda and Becky to happen at some point. I don't know if Nia Jax is even going to be in the running now because it looks like WWE squashed that at TLC when Becky just punched her in the face backstage. I thought WWE could get some money out of a Nia Jax-Becky Lynch match, but instead it looks like they might not be going through with it at all. So if you've got Charlotte and Ronda coming up, you've got Becky and Ronda coming up, you have a possible triple threat with all three of them that could happen somewhere, maybe even at WrestleMania. You've got Asuka as the champion during all this, which is great. And I just think the possibilities are endless and really good right now for the women. And I'm just so incredibly terrified that WWE when there is almost no way that they can fail at this, they will find a way to fail at this. And I don't want to be cynical. During the holiday season, I'm always a cup half full guy. And I've been saying from the start that Asuka was never buried at WrestleMania. She'll be fine. She'll eventually win that title. And she did in the main event of a pay-per-view. I've also said that Charlotte is not the next fucking Roman Reigns. And WWE is not all up her ass the way the fans think that they are. They're clearly going to make her the crown jewel, the cornerstone of the women's division and the next fabulous Moolah. Of course they're going to do that with her. What's wrong with that? She's Ric Flair's fucking daughter. Stop your bitching. It could be a lot worse. And Charlotte is very good. And I don't think she's holding Becky back and all that crap. So normally when the fans get all weirded out and cynical and start worrying about WWE fucking things up, I'm always the one to tell them to just relax. But I'm even nervous with this, you know, with all this Becky Lynch shit. It just seems like she is primed and ready to, you know, be one of the greatest women's wrestlers we've ever seen, not only in the ring, but character-wise. She's super over. The fans are behind her about 1,000,000%, as much as fans could be behind anybody in modern times. And I'm just worried. I'm just worried that WWE will do very WWE things and fuck this whole situation up. And we'll get into this whole new era shit here in a minute. But I'm still reflecting on TLC and what kind of a pay-per-view it was. I think it was good because of the finish, but a lot of that was just unnecessary matches and an overly stacked card. I think we had 12 matches on that card, and I only got one match wrong in my predictions. The only match I got wrong on the entire card was Finn Balor and Drew McIntyre. So I fucking nailed it on everything, but it was a lot of just matches that we could have seen on Raw, a couple that we could have seen on SmackDown. I had no need for Lashley and Elias or McIntyre and Balor or Ruby and Natalya. To me, none of those matches even needed to be on the card. The SmackDown Tag Team title was kind of the same way. You could have put that shit on the kickoff, move up the Cruiserweight match to the main card. So there was just a lot that I thought didn't need to be there, but overall, we have definitely seen worse TLC pay-per-views, and like I said, the main event was awesome, and I was super happy for Asuka. So, with that being said, why don't we move now on to Monday Night Raw, this past week's edition of Monday Night Raw on December 17th. And of course, the big story on Monday Night Raw was the announcement made by the entire McMahon family, the big shakeup that was advertised with Vince McMahon appearing on Monday Night Raw, which he did. He opened up the show, and the same exact fans that are criticizing him, calling him out of touch, saying he should retire and die, are singing along with his theme song. Come on. So I thought that was really funny, and on the live stream, I think I was joking about that. But Vince gets in the ring and brings out everybody, brings out Stephanie and that wonderful theme song of hers. And Triple H comes out, and so does Shane McMahon, the commissioner or the GM or whatever the fuck of SmackDown. So they're all out there now. And this big announcement, this shakeup that was advertised, which we all knew, we speculated all week long. From the minute that Vince McMahon was announced to be on Raw, we were like, what's his big announcement? It's probably going to be stupid. Guess what? It was. The big announcement is that the McMahons, all four of them now, are going to be running both shows because they're going to listen to the fans now. They're going to give the fans what they want. This is almost like a self-parody, of themselves. They're acknowledging that they hear the fans bitching, but they're only addressing it in storyline. They're not addressing it internally. So now in storyline, they're projecting all of this fucking hate onto Baron Corbin. You know, you got all four McMahons out there, all on the mic, all individually vowing to make the shows better and to give the fans a better product and usher in a new era. And we're going to see a lot of new names and faces and matchups and all of that. And then they bring out, or Corbin interrupts to try to plead his case to remain in charge. And the McMahons completely humiliate him. They make him have a match with Kurt Angle. And then Triple H comes out in the middle of it and does what Corbin had done to so many guys prior to this and changes the rules and announces that it's now a 4-on-1 handicap match. And Chad Gable, Bobby Roode, and Apollo Crews show up to help out Kurt Angle. And the four of them just beat the piss out of Baron Corbin until Angle hits him with the Angle Slam and pins him. So the McMahons came out there to announce that they are now in charge and they're going to listen to the fans and blah, blah, blah. And they completely humiliate and basically blame Baron Corbin on television. And they think, I don't know if the McMahons think the fans are this stupid to think that if they go out there and have Baron Corbin get his ass kicked, that's going to make things better because Baron Corbin is really fucking in charge. So WWE isn't doing anything here. I mean, it cracks me up. It blows my mind that the WWE thinks the answer to their problems is more McMahons. How much of that shit did we have to endure with Stephanie and Triple H? in these heel regimes, in these heel GMs, and there's always these authority figures, which wrestling, needs, but it doesn't need all the time. And it's just kind of getting old. So now instead of, just a GM on each show, now you got 4 on each show. It's like, what the fuck? And Shane McMahon, right out of the gate here on Monday Night Raw, he was making decisions. And I guess that means that we're going to see all of the McMahons for a short time, at least together on both shows. Now, this just sets up like a million different possibilities for conflict as well. And that's what they're getting to. That's what they're building up to. WrestleMania is right around the corner. So something's going to happen here. We never got that Triple H versus Shane McMahon match. We never got that feud. This could be a good time to do it. I thought there was some rumors of Triple H facing Batista. I don't know what Triple H's injury status is from Crown Jewel. He might not even be ready to go by WrestleMania, but a feud between him and Shane, I guess, is possible. But there's just going to be some conflict there. I think we can rule out Vince wrestling, hopefully. Jesus. He's definitely looking a lot older these days, so I don't want to see him in the ring. I don't want to see Stephanie in the ring unless Ronda Rousey's beating her to death with her own fucking arm. Other than that, keep them all out of the ring if it was up to me. But they're leading somewhere here. So this whole thing to me is a fucking joke. What really worries me, too, is that one of Triple H's announcements during that big promo on Raw was that we were going to see a lot of new faces and a lot of new matchups. And later on Monday Night Raw, they were running promos for 6 new NXT call-ups that they are pre-announcing to everybody. We are getting Lars Sullivan, which we already knew. They've been running vignettes for him. We're also getting EC3, Lacey Evans, Nikki Cross, and Heavy Machinery. Now, these are all solid call-ups. Lacey Evans is a little sketchy to me, but Lars they're bringing up. EC3, I think, was kind of tailor-made for the main roster, even though I'm not a huge fan of his. Nikki Cross, of course, is a goddamn national treasure. I know she's from Scotland, but I'm claiming her. And Heavy Machinery is a really, really fun tag team that can do some crazy shit in there. So these are all really solid call-ups, but I've maintained for a long time, for years, that I am in no rush to see NXT guys get called up because more often than not, they turn out to suck. There's so many fucking examples of that on both rosters right now that simply bringing guys up isn't going to help. And I've said that for so long. I've maintained that if you're going to call up an NXT talent, fine, bring them up if that's what you want to do. But have some sort of a plan in place. I don't think that's happening at all. What I'm thinking is happening is this talent is being called up before any thoughts or plans are made for them. It's like the writing team is not going to even think about them until they see them backstage and they're there and say, okay, it's time to write Lars Sullivan into the show, or it's time to write EC3 into the show. And then they just worry about it that day. Like, you should start trying to come up with ideas for these guys, man. And it never happens that way. They just flounder when they come in. Bobby Roode didn't do shit. The Authors of Pain didn't do shit. So many other talent, when they came in, they just, the magic that they had in NXT is gone. So now you're just going to bring up a half a dozen of them at once and throw them in our faces? Okay, fine. But if nothing is changing internally with the writing, then all this is going to mean is more faces for you to fuck up. We're going to get a few new matches for a little while, but again, it'll get to the point where if you put EC3 on SmackDown, or you put EC3 on Raw, I should say, and he works with Jinder Mahal, within 2 months, we're going to see 19 matches between those two. I'm really glad that Velveteen Dream is not a part of this, because a lot of people were talking to me on Monday during the stream like, oh, this is bullshit. Where's Velveteen Dream? Dudes, chill. You don't want him as one of these 6. You want him coming in on his own. You want him to be either a surprise somewhere or somebody that's being built up with vignettes, maybe similar to Lars Sullivan, or just running promos for his eventual appearance on one of the main rosters. And again, with Velveteen Dream, goddammit, know where you are going to go with him for 8 months. Know 8 months in the future, a general idea where you want him to go. You can deviate from that plan because not everything always goes to plan, but at least have an idea in mind. Okay, we're going to bring him in February. Let's kind of sort of pencil in his storyline path through September, just for example. Why can't they do that? They got 24 fucking writers there on both shows. How hard is this to do? I can do this fucking shit, and I got a full-time job. So I'm just weirded out by this whole situation. I think the McMahon's announcement was fucking bullshit. I am terrified that these NXT stars are going to be flushed down the shitter. And I don't believe that anything is really going to change, because the only thing that is changing, according to WWE, is their storyline of who's in charge, which we've seen that happen time and time again. So unless things are really taking place internally and WWE is really changing things up, and maybe Triple H starts taking more of a role or taking the reins on Raw and SmackDown, and he's the number one guy, and Vince kind of takes a back seat and goes on and works on the XFL or some shit, or they're, tweaking up some of the writers. You don't necessarily have to fire them. I don't think the writers are necessarily bad people. This is just kind of the framework that they are writing in, and it's just the same repeat shit every week because it's what WWE wants. So the mentality has to change. The philosophy has to change. All that shit has to change internally. And you got to just think in simple terms of what's going to bring the fans back, what's going to keep the ratings up, what's going to make the fans want to tune in next week. Because the way most of these Monday Night Raws air, we're just glad the fucking thing is over. Where back in the Attitude Era, you had that feeling of, I can't wait until next week. So it seems like a very simple thing to figure out, and WWE just can't figure it out. So I am not optimistic about anything. I think WWE is full of fucking shit, and I don't think in the end this is really going to change anything in the company. Now, it may be disguised as that, because one thing I will say for the WWE, that in most years, and more often than not, I'm usually pretty entertained with WrestleMania season. I really enjoy January through April because it's the biggest storylines, it's the biggest money matches. You get the, most appearances and most star-studded Monday Night Raws and SmackDowns during this time. I generally like this time of year, once we cross over into 2019. But after that, and we get that WrestleMania lull, and you go into May and June and July. In the end, when we get to that point, I seriously doubt anything is really going to look that different compared to what we see now, especially with, the way they structure TV and all of that. So, luckily we've got a couple of rosters full of really talented guys, and we are treated to some delicious wrestling pretty much on a weekly basis from all three brands, NXT, Raw, SmackDown. We get good in-ring wrestling on those shows virtually every week. But the problem is with Monday Night Raw, it's a 3-hour show. You might get one great match on that show, but you're also going to get 2 hours and 40 minutes of bullshit. At least the wrestling doesn't suck, because then we would really be in trouble. But anyway, that's my thoughts. I've been thinking about it all week with the McMahons and this announcement, and I just it sounds like I'm pretty much on the same page with a lot of people. Some of the YouTubers I've seen and opinions I've read on Twitter, a lot of you feel the same way, so I don't think I'm really going to be hurting anybody's feelings with my comments here, and I'm sure most are in agreement. But you just got to believe that the WWE is just blowing smoke up all our asses. So I'll believe in these changes when I see them. As far as what else we saw this past week on Monday Night Raw, I'm going to kind of just blow through some of the results here and then talk about a few spoilers. So just a little warning here. In the next 5 minutes, you are going to hear a couple of spoilers. We did see Finn Balor and Dolph Ziggler go to a disqualification when Drew McIntyre interfered. Next week on Monday Night Raw, the Christmas Eve edition, you are going to see a triple threat match between all three of them. And you know what? This is actually a situation where I don't even need to mention the spoiler. It's not even important who wins this match, but a triple threat does take place, so I'm going to spare you that spoiler because it's really not that important. Dean Ambrose had the promo, his victory promo after winning the Intercontinental title, and he issued an open challenge. We had like a couple of open challenges on Monday Night Raw. Seems to be a very common thing that's getting a little bit old. I always enjoyed open challenges, but now it's like we get one every 30 minutes, and I just don't understand. But Ambrose is out there with his Riot Squad guys, like 4 of them, and he's coming down the ramp, and these guys are so overly dressed. He wasn't 5 feet down the ramp during my live stream, and I'm like, one of those dudes is Seth. I was even trying to figure out which one it was. I'm like, it's the one on the left. I thought Seth Rollins was going to attack Dean Ambrose earlier because Dean issued the open challenge. It was answered by Tyler Breeze, who came out. Fandango was still on the injured list, and Tyler Breeze even made a return to NXT as well. Didn't he work with Ricochet, I think? So it's good to see him kind of appearing a little bit more and being back in the ring. And I was hoping that Seth Rollins, because this was an Intercontinental title match, I was hoping that Seth Rollins would attack Ambrose earlier during the match and cost him the Intercontinental title to Tyler Breeze. I thought that would have been fantastic. But Ambrose wound up winning. He was on the mic, too, trying to call out Seth Rollins, and Seth really waited a long time. Eventually, he got in the ring, attacked Dean Ambrose, and pulled off the mask to reveal that he was at ringside the whole time, which we knew. And I can't even remember what they do next week. Oh, yeah, I do. Here's a little bit of a spoiler, but I'm not going to tell you the result. Seth Rollins did take on Baron Corbin, and I believe that's going to be the main event of the Christmas Eve Monday Night Raw. So really, so far, I have not spoiled anything, but I'm about to spoil something here. We also saw this past week the Revival winning a Fatal 4-Way number one contenders match. I think that was made by Shane McMahon earlier on when he denied the Authors of Pain an automatic rematch. So they had to win a Fatal 4-Way if they wanted to get another shot, but they didn't. They lost. The Revival won it, and I thought the match was going to take place later on. I thought this was a future tag team title shot that might happen at the Royal Rumble or something like that, but it does take place on Monday Night Raw on Christmas Eve. And I was hoping that this would be the beginning of something for the Revival, but spoiler alert, they do lose. The match, according to the results, now I read my spoilers on SE Scoops, and according to their version of the spoilers, the match was getting rave reviews from the audience. So apparently this is going to be a really, really good tag team match. I believe the finish was a roll-up, so it doesn't sound too fancy, but apparently the match was pretty good. Another match that we saw was a big gauntlet match. This match main evented Monday Night Raw, and it went almost an hour long. Now, Ronda Rousey came out there to cut a promo. She, I guess, talked some shit about Becky and Charlotte. And by the way, how entertaining have the Twitter exchanges been between Ronda Rousey and Becky Lynch? Those have been great. Go over to Twitter and read what they've been saying to each other. It's great shit. And by the way, while you're there, shoot me a follow at GoodMicWork. But Ronda is out there to talk a little bit of shit, and she wants to issue an open challenge, big fucking surprise, but she also she claims she wants to start a new tradition. And this is a tradition that I do not agree with at all. I don't think they should do it because it's going to cause problems in the future, I think. But Ronda says that she feels that after a champion successfully defends their title or wins a title on a pay-per-view, that they should be required to defend it the next night on Monday Night Raw, or the very next day of TV, or whatever the hell she said. I'm very much against that idea. It might be fun for a short time, but it's just, I don't know. It's going to give you way too many one-day title reigns. You know it's going to happen all the time with guys. I don't know why I disagree with the issue. I just do. But she tries to make that pitch to WWE, and I think it was Stephanie that came out and made the gauntlet match. You had all the women showing up wanting to challenge Ronda Rousey right then, about 8 of them. So Stephanie makes a long gauntlet match, and the winner of that match would face Ronda Rousey next week, Christmas Eve, on Monday Night Raw for the title. Now, this match went nearly an hour, and we had Natalya in the end winning it. I thought that was interesting because we know the plans were likely for her to turn heel, but that kind of changed when Jim Neidhart died. So she now is getting this babyface match with Ronda Rousey. A lot of us during the stream on Monday were speculating that next week on Raw, or tomorrow on Raw, that Natty might do the heel turn. They might finally do it. But here is a spoiler for you, so if you don't want to hear this, just click off or pause or fast forward just a little bit. I'll give you a second to do this. But Ronda Rousey does win. And apparently we had no heel turn either. So that could still be coming. Ronda is going to win the first encounter here tomorrow night. And then after that, they might do another match, or now it might just be a little bit awkward between the two of them. Now they're two friends, two very, very close friends that wound up fighting each other. Maybe Natty holds some resentment and winds up attacking Ronda and turning heel in the future. On Monday Night Raw, it was ridiculous, though, because after Natalya won the match, I know she's Ronda's friend and everything, but of course, it's all smiles, it's all hugs. You know, Ronda Rousey, I don't understand why she's just not a little bit meaner and why she's so goddamn fucking happy all the time. But the two of them are literally walking arm in arm up at the ramp as Natty wins. It's just, I mean, I understand you want to have a respectful contest. There's nothing wrong with babyface matches. You know, give a handshake or a fist bump or whatever and start going at it, you know, and do the same thing when the match is over. But you don't need to hug and make out in the middle of the fucking ring. Jesus. So, I don't know how long that's going to last and if Natalya will eventually go back to being a heel, but it's definitely not going to happen on the Christmas Eve Raw. And Ronda is still your champion. And again, you know, that's a spoiler that did anybody think Natalya was going to win the belt? No, of course not. So it's not really a spoiler. But for the most part, that's all that's worth noting on Monday Night Raw. The Elias and Bobby Lashley stuff, to me, is boring as hell. They do open up Monday Night Raw on Christmas Eve with a Miracle on 34th Street fight between the two. I don't even know who wins that, but that is a match that you're going to see on Raw tomorrow. But the rest of what they're doing, I just don't give a shit at all. We also saw some return promos for both Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. To me, these felt like WWE just reminding us that these two guys exist. I haven't forgotten. I know that they're injured. Sami Zayn apparently tweeted out that he's nowhere close to being cleared to return. So he's got some time before he'll be back. I think WWE just maybe wanted to remind fans that they're going to bring him back when he's healthy. He's a pretty charismatic guy. They could bring him back and just do something on camera with him if they wanted to. He certainly has that ability. Same with Kevin Owens. I don't know what the injury status with him is either, but apparently he is not quite ready to go yet. Maybe by the Royal Rumble he will be. I don't know. You guys probably know better than I do on that situation. But they are going to be coming back, and WWE is trying to, I guess, remind us that we're going to have them reappearing on the main roster along with 6 brand new NXT call-ups and probably a few more right after WrestleMania. And the landscape will change, but like I said, I don't believe it's going to change that much. Let's move on to SmackDown Live now for this previous week. The show opened up with Shane McMahon doing a pep talk backstage to the entire SmackDown locker room. He was basically spewing the same nonsense that all 4 of the McMahons were spewing the night before. And he also relieved Paige of her duties as GM. So we did have a feeling this was going to happen. Paige is now out as general manager of SmackDown, which is a shame. She's a casualty of this new stupid storyline direction. I thought she was doing a good job in that role. It was nice to kind of have a babyface authority figure for a change. It was, it gave SmackDown a different feel. And she's good on the mic. She's good at talking, and she played the role well. And I'm going to be sad to see her go. Shane McMahon insisted during the promo that she was not going anywhere. Her role is just changing. But if she can't wrestle, I don't know what they have planned for her. I don't know if there's a chance for her ever to become a commentator. I doubt it. My instinct tells me no, but you never know. I don't know what kind of backstage role she can have if all of the authority figures are already used up. So she might be a manager for somebody. She could lead a faction, something like that. But I really hope they find something for her to do that keeps her on TV, because we like Paige. And she did a good job in her short stint as GM. We saw Asuka cut a promo alongside Becky Lynch and Charlotte. Asuka was out there celebrating her SmackDown women's title victory at TLC, which I still think is awesome. They took a few months longer to get there than I wanted them to. I thought if you had Charlotte beat Asuka at WrestleMania, you could build for a rematch, keep the belt on Charlotte the whole time, don't have her drop it to Carmella, have Charlotte remain champion going into SummerSlam. Asuka can challenge her. They have a rematch. Asuka wins the title, and all is well in the world, right? But they didn't do that. They fucked not only Asuka up royally, but they fucked Charlotte up, having her drop the belt to fucking Carmella after she ends Asuka's streak. Like, what the fuck are they doing? So I was hoping that Asuka would win the women's title at SummerSlam. I was fine with her not winning it at WrestleMania. It took a few months longer. It took until December for it to happen, but it did happen, and it happened in the main event, defeating the 2 best women on the WWE's roster. So I don't know if this completely, washes away the shit stink that's been on Asuka and WWE's use of her ever since WrestleMania, but it definitely is a start. And now that she is women's champion and she won on a big stage, in a main event, it wasn't like this was a fucking kickoff match. She won in the main event of a pay-per-view. That's nothing to shake a stick at. So I think that's good. I think that's positive. And I really hope and I expect Asuka to remain champion going into WrestleMania. I think she has a lot of potential matches ahead. It depends on what direction they go in with Becky and Ronda and Charlotte and Ronda. Maybe Charlotte and Ronda wind up getting the match at Royal Rumble somehow. I don't know how, but maybe that's possible. But one match I would like to see a rematch. I would like to see Asuka take on Charlotte. And this time, I want Asuka to win. Last year, I was fine with Charlotte. I predicted Charlotte to win. I was one of the only ones that did. But this year, I'd be all in on a rematch with Asuka champion going in against challenger Charlotte. The entire wrestling world is going to be 100% convinced that WWE is going to Roman Reigns Charlotte right back to the top, and she's going to take that belt from Asuka, but instead Asuka beats her and retains. I think that would be beautiful, and I think it would erase a lot of the wrongs that WWE did with Asuka last year. Are they going to do any of this? Of course not, because WWE doesn't do anything that would be awesome. So I'm not very optimistic in that idea, but that's the way I'd do it, if it was up to me. So Asuka now is the champion, and now there's potential. Now she's there to run with the title and hopefully do well with it. And hopefully they can move Becky over to Monday Night Raw to deal with Ronda, and Asuka can, hold that title for a while. That's what I want to see. The earliest I want to see her drop it is WrestleMania, but I would like to see her retain it at WrestleMania, and just get her back on the track that she never should have been derailed from in the first fucking place. Anyway, during the Asuka, Becky, and Charlotte promo, they're all talking shit, and then Vince interrupts. And I can't even remember why he came out there. I don't even know why he came out there, to be honest with you. But he was then joined by Naomi, who wants a title match right there. And Vince McMahon says, fine, make the match. So he's out there acting like this is the new era in WWE. They're going to give the fans what they want. If you erase Vince McMahon from this segment still happens the exact same way. That's what I'm talking about. It's a fucking illusion. They're making you think shit's changing up just by having them come out there and make announcements, but they're making the same exact announcements that any GM in their position would make. If Paige was still in charge, she could have just came out there, and then Naomi would have joined her on stage, and then Paige would have said, make the match. The same fucking shit would have happened. So the McMahons are trying to take credit for this crap when it's just the same shit they always do anyway. So Vince makes a WWE women's title match right there, Asuka and Naomi. Asuka beats her, and I think Becky and Charlotte were both at ringside watching this match as well. So they're leaving it up in the air. Like I said earlier, WWE, I think, jumped the gun on the Asuka and Becky Lynch announcement for the Royal Rumble. I don't think they're going to do that. I hope they don't, because like I said, I want to see Becky in the Rumble, provided they don't fuck it up. It's possible we also get Charlotte and Asuka, the match I just pitched for WrestleMania. That might happen at the Royal Rumble, and we might have a match on SmackDown to determine that as well, upcoming. Because like I said, we have a lot of weeks until the Royal Rumble, nearly a month. It's on January 27th, so we've got some time. And like I said earlier, WWE, there is no rush figuring the shit out. Take your time, think it through. Don't be stupid. We had Miz. Here's another spoiler upcoming. Just a fair warning for you that you are going to get a small spoiler here for this coming week's SmackDown. But last week we had The Miz knocking on Vince McMahon's door. And for some reason, The Miz is still hell-bent on wanting to team with Shane McMahon. He wants Shane to be his tag team partner. They want to go after the tag team titles, I guess. And Miz is asking for Vince's blessing to be Shane's partner. And Vince kind of blows him off. But the spoiler part of this is that this week on SmackDown, on Christmas, there's going to be a Miz TV segment with Miz and Shane McMahon actually accepts the Miz's offer to be his tag team partner. So what I'm thinking they might do, even though I hope they don't, is I really hope this is not building to a Shane McMahon and Miz match at WrestleMania. And I kind of wanted to see a babyface Miz dethrone the little evil villain Daniel Bryan for the WWE title. I think that would be amazing shit, and it would make you question whether or not you slipped into an alternate reality, because a year ago that notion would have been absurd. So I would like to see Miz do other things at WrestleMania, but if this is the beginning of a Miz and Shane match at WrestleMania, I don't know, whatever, man. We also get a segment between Samoa Joe and Jeff Hardy last week on SmackDown, which is kind of dumb. Samoa Joe was supposed to come out and apologize to Jeff for some of the shit that he said in his previous promo about Jeff's issues and demons and addiction problems and shit like that. It simply ends with Joe trying to attack, and Jeff kicks him, hits him with the twist of fate, and runs Joe off. And they do have a match on Christmas. I won't reveal to you the finish there because it really doesn't matter. But the two do face each other one-on-one this Tuesday on SmackDown. It looks like WWE is also trying to reincorporate some of the absent tag teams. We saw the Club get a match versus the Usos. It was mentioned on SmackDown that the Club, or Gallows and Anderson, have not been on TV in 4 months. Are you kidding me? That's how long since they've had a TV match? 4 months? Not even sure if that's accurate, but hell, it sounds right. Last time I saw them was at the Survivor Series, but shit, that's a long time. They're a good fucking team, man. The hell's wrong with you, WWE? They get a match with the Usos. I think it ends in a DQ because the bar winds up coming out and then Sanity attacks. And so now we're seeing Sanity and Gallows and Anderson, two teams that they have completely pissed away. So maybe this is the beginning of WWE trying to reincorporate them into the tag team division, but I don't know. They might be too far gone at this point. So it's more of that brass ring shit. You know, Shane in his opening show promo was saying that to the talent. You got to go out there and get it and take it and fight for it and all this nonsense that we've heard for so many years that's not true. And it's not the way things work in WWE. They don't want you getting over unless they approve you getting over. That's the way it is. And I guess hopefully this isn't just a 1 week thing where we see them out there kicking ass and then next week they're fucking jobbing again. And that's likely what we will see. But they should be there. I mean, the SmackDown Tag Team division is not bad. The Usos are a great team. The Bar is a great team. New Day is a great team. Gallows and Anderson are a great team, but they're not treated like a great team. And Sanity is a great team, also not treated like a great team. So the SmackDown division, you know, booked properly is actually pretty strong. Don't forget the Bludgeon Brothers are pretty damn solid badasses too, even though one of them's injured. So if they ever get back into the fray, you know, it could be pretty fun over on SmackDown. They have some teams, you know, they have 1980s level tag teams right here as far as how many they have. You've got at least, a dozen tag teams on the roster that are actual tag teams, not just two guys thrown together, but they're teams. They're there. Why not fucking use them? So let's hope this is the first of a lot more of that. Here's another possible spoiler for you. We had some promos, backstage promos between Rusev and Shinsuke Nakamura. Their feud and their little beef has been pretty fun because Rusev is fucking hilarious. I don't know how WWE managed to fuck up Rusev Day, but they did. He's been such a disappointment, which is such a shame because the dude is so over and so charismatic and so funny. And this was all setting up a U.S. title match this Tuesday on SmackDown, Christmas night. Rusev taking on Shinsuke Nakamura for the United States title. Do you want to know who's going to win? Go ahead and pause or skip ahead about 30 seconds if you don't want to hear who's going to win, because I'm going to spoil it for you right now. So get ready. Here it comes. Rusev beats Nakamura and becomes the U.S. champion, guys. How awesome is that? So now that Rusev is once again U.S. champion like he used to be, you know, years ago, I think that's pretty cool. And hopefully Rusev can start getting back on track. So at least in storyline, WWE claims we're going to start listening to the fans, and now they're putting belts on guys that we want to see champions. So, you know, it's a good start. But again, I'm not that optimistic because even when WWE starts to turn things up for a couple of weeks, you know, it fizzles right out again. So we had a feeling, though, you kind of knew that with the McMahon's big announcement, they're going to have to do something crazy. So that was probably one of the things they had in mind, give us at least one champion dropping their belt. Also, rewinding again to this past week's SmackDown, the main event was pretty cool, too. More examples of WWE trying to listen to the fans. And it was a tag team match between AJ Styles and Mustafa Ali versus Daniel Bryan and Andrade Cien Almas. Now, Mustafa Ali wrestled Daniel Bryan the week before on SmackDown, which was awesome because I've said this in previous episodes a few months ago. I know this because we were talking about it as a group. And we've said, you know, why not bring Mustafa Ali up to the main roster or just have him show up and have some matches on Monday Night Raw with a Finn Balor or an AJ Styles over on SmackDown or something like that, or Seth Rollins even. And here they did it. He gets a match against Daniel Bryan and he does so well and he impresses so much that he's back this week in a tag team match with AJ Styles taking on Bryan and Almas. And guess what? Mustafa Ali pins Daniel Bryan. How great is that? So WWE is actually acknowledging the fact that this Mustafa Ali guy is a standout in the cruiserweight division, and he could easily translate onto the main roster. When you look at him physically, he's no smaller than a Seth Rollins, and he does some pretty damn incredible things in there. So that's a guy, one of many guys actually, but he's one of the main ones that I think should never be just plain stuck on 205 Live. He has so much more to offer than that, and here he is on SmackDown pinning the WWE champion. That's fabulous. So I'm happy about that. I'm happy with the way SmackDown went down. I'm even happy with a couple of the spoilers that we see this week coming up on Christmas night. So, you know, things are, I guess, a little bit better on TV right now, but again, with the McMahons being in charge and all four of them, we're going to have to see all four of their stupid fucking faces every week, and I just don't know if that's the answer to better ratings. And you can shake things up for 1 week, but eventually, you know, all the shit just winds up settling to the bottom again, and that's what we get. So all that I think we can realistically ask for as fans is that it just doesn't get any worse. You know, that's all I ask. Yes, it really, really needs to get better, but just please don't make it worse, because I'm just nervous for 2019. I ain't gonna lie. But I think that is gonna wrap it up. That's all I really had on my notes for this week. I was only going to talk about Raw and SmackDown, TLC, and Royal Rumble, and that was about it. So yeah, this is my last formal regular podcast of the year. Crazy. Like I said earlier in the beginning, join me 1 week from today, Sunday, December 30th at 8 p.m. Eastern. I'll be up here live for episode 525. It'll be a long, fun Q&A and discussion. You can ask me anything you want. You can join live in the chat, or you can email me at goodmicwork@gmail.com. Holy shit, come to think of it, did I even mention my email address in the beginning of the video when I talked about that? I better put that on the screen because I don't remember actually giving you the email address, but it is in the description below as well. So you can email your questions over, and I'll try to answer a few of them during the stream, or you can join live and tweet your questions to me or ask them in the chat. So I will catch you guys on 2 videos 1 week from tonight. Between now and then, maybe a mic drop or something like that. Keep an eye out on the channel. But with the holidays, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, I'm going to be doing family stuff. And then it'll be Wednesday and Thursday. And I've already talked about Monday Night Raw and SmackDown with the spoilers. So I don't know what there will really be to talk about this week. So I might come up with a one-off, but you may not hear from me again for 1 week when I come up here with 2 videos on December 30th. So again, you guys have a really fun, happy, and safe holiday season. Enjoy the time with your family, and I hope you have a great one. Take care of yourselves, and thank you so much for all of your support. It's been a great 2018, and I hope for even more in 2019. I'll talk to you guys real soon. Until then, peace.
This has been a Good Mic Work Commentaries production. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube at youtube.com/GoodMicWork. Follow Greg Morgan on Twitter at GoodMicWork, and visit GoodMicWorkCommentaries.com for all the latest podcast and video content.